Hi and welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a look at Sega games that were released on the Commodore Amiga. Now in the early days of Sega they released a lot of games on 8-bit and 16-bit home computers. But then, once the Mega Drive came out / Genesis, they decided to solely concentrate on their own system. Now they didn't really reproduce any games for the Amiga themselves. They basically licensed the titles out to other publishers and developers to do the work for them. Some games are great, some games are not so great. But I have picked what I feel are the best Sega games out there on the system. So let's take a look. The first game I want to show you is a side-scrolling beat 'em up, and it's Dynamite Ducks, released in 1989 and published by Activision. In this game you play the role as Bin, and he's the blue duck, or you play as the role as Pin, the red duck, and your goal is simple. You fight your way through 6 levels and to save your friend Lucy. Colourful game and great fun in 2 players. Crackdown, released in 1990 and published by US Gold. This top-down shooter game ain't a bad game at all. Your goal in this is simple. You play as 2 heroes, Ben and Andy, and you must fight your way through each level and placing bombs on the X marks. It's not the best looking Amiga game out there, but it's certainly a fun one. It's time for a bit of ninja action now, and this is Shinobi, released in 1989 and published by Virgin Games. Now Shinobi was a great arcade game back in the day, and the Amiga version ain't bad either. Yes, the scrolling's not the best, and the colours do look washed out in this one, but it's still a fun game to play, especially when you're in the house back in the day playing this game on your Amiga. This next game's a great game, and this is Bonanza Brothers, released in 1991 and published by US Gold. You play as the role as Mobile Robo, and your goal is simple. You got 10 buildings to conquer, and you gotta try and collect many items and treasures as you possibly can. It's a fun game. I remember playing this one in the arcade, and I was impressed when I seen it on the Amiga for the first time.
Welcome to the Fantasy Zone.
Space Aria, Return to the Fantasy Zone, released in 1989 and published by Elite. Now when I heard about Space Aria coming out on the Amiga, I wasn't open for much. And the reason for that is, the arcade game is very demanding, especially on the hardware. It was well advanced for its time, but it didn't disappoint me, because when I played it, I thought it was great. It's got great gameplay, great music, great graphics, and yeah, plenty of fun with a tank mouse this one. Shadow Dancer, released in 1991 and published by US Gold. Now I played this game to death back in the day, and it's a great game. It's got nice graphics, music and gameplay. I also heard as well that is a remastered version of it coming out sometime soon, and I'm so looking forward to that. But for now, this is a great game for you to try on your Amiga. Turbo Outrun, released in 1990, and this game was also published by US Gold. Now Turbo Outrun is a vast improvement from the original Outrun on the Amiga, because to be honest with you, that game was very disappointing. This one has still got its flaws though. It has got frame rate issues and so on, but I did have great fun playing this one back in the day. It's not a Lotus beater by all means, but it's still fun for me to play. Outrun Europa, released in 1991, and you guessed it, this was published by US Gold. Now this is even better improvement from Turbo Outrun. In this one you got different vehicles to race with, and that's including motorbikes, jet skis and cars. Yep, you're on a chase in this one, you're being chased by the police, and so on. It's a great game, it's a little bit difficult on times, a bit tricky, but other than that, I had great fun playing this one. And now for a game that wasn't originally released on the Amiga, is Wonder Boy. And this was released in 2022, and the coder behind it was Acid Bottle. Now Wonder Boy was never released, as I just said, on the Amiga, but I did play it a lot on the Commodore 64 and the arcade. So when this one recently came out, well, back last year, I had to play it. And it's a great port from the arcade. It's all in there, all the elements of the arcade's in it too. It's got great music and graphics, they done an amazing job with this one. Space Harrier 2, released in 1989 and published by Grand Slam. Now Space Harrier 2 was released the same year as Space Harrier, and it's a great game. It didn't get very good reviews at the time, but for me I reckon it's underrated. It's got great graphics, music and gameplay. Yeah, hours of fun once again if you like the Space Harrier series. Super Monaco Grand Prix, released in 1991 and published by US Gold. Now this is the only Monaco Grand Prix game we got on the Amiga. We missed out on a sequel with it featuring Ayrton Senna, but it's still a great game. Great port from the arcade, it has nice music, nice graphics and nice gameplay too. Can be a little bit frustrating if you haven't played it before, but once you master it, it's hours of fun. Boy A Monsterland, released in 1989 and published by Activision. Now Boy A Monsterland is one of my favourite Sega games on the Amiga. Why? Because it's got great graphics, it's got great music and gameplay too. It's hours of fun, and I spent most of my childhood playing this classic. Now these last two games you've seen featured a lot on my channel, and simple reason behind that is they're classics on the Amiga. And first up is Super Anon, released in 1988 and published by Electric Dreams. Now Super Anon is a great port from the arcade. It's got very similar graphics, it's got great gameplay and it's got a great speed in it too. Hours of fun in this one, even more fun if you're brave enough to try it with a tank mouse. So the last game is obviously Golden Axe, and this was released in 1990 and published by Virgin Games. Now Golden Axe in arcade was a very demanding game, and when they converted it to the C64 I was a bit disappointed. So when the Amiga version came out I didn't have much hopes, but God, I was so wrong. This is a fantastic game on the Amiga. It's all in there. You've got the music by Dave Whitaker as well, which is absolutely amazing. And you've got the coder then, Richard Costello, that converted a few games on the arcade to the Amiga, and that's included the Mortal Kombat series. It's an absolute classic on the system, and you need to play this one. I hope you enjoyed our trip down memory lane, and I catch you all again soon. Bye for now.